Sounds great. All right. And I will put my timer on because I have the gift of gab. I will tell everyone. So, and unfortunately, you have to be like, oh, stop. So, as he said, my name is Tammy Adams. I have been working as a social worker for about 15 years. I got my BSW in 2005 and my master's in social work in 2010. And then in 2017, I received my license. I work for a major a community mental health agency in Lexington. They're based out of Lexington, but I work in Nicholasville, Kentucky. Um, and so it's been a really great experience. I work with all sorts of people. I will tell you, I've done presentations before to tons of people, big rooms of people. This will be my first Zoom, so please bear with me because I'm not going to tell you that there probably will be some mess ups every once in a while, but I guess you'll learn through human nature. And look, I love you guys. Y'all already are muted. I remember presentations, people always say to me, hey, go ahead and mute yourself because some of us are working from home and are in school, and if you're like me, I have a kid and a dog that don't do nothing until they see me on Zoom. So I am going to be working with you and talking to you on creating and maintaining healthy relationships. I did do a PowerPoint, so I will pull that up and try to share my screen. Also, I wanted to let you know this is really kind of informal. If you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand or ask me. I have been in school a long time. I have many degrees, about 5 of them, but I've also lived life. So a lot of times you'll hear me connect life stuff with some of these things because I'm sure the things we're going to talk about are things that you guys already know. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Give me just a second. Can everyone see that okay? A head nod is fine. See it okay? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, like for me, presentations, I've sat through many, and when the person just talks at me, it drives me kind of nutty. So I will be asking for some feedback through this a little bit. And trust me, there is no right or wrong answer. So the first thing I wanted to talk about absolutely was being able to define unhealthy or healthy relationships, because before I can know what's good or what's bad, I have to be able to know a definition, right? And so, absolutely, are the relationships built on my core beliefs? Well, a lot of times when I'm talking to people, they're like, well, I don't even know where core beliefs come from. What do you mean? Well, my core beliefs are things that I get from my family, right? So they're what I'm taught. So if I'm in a family where there's anger or possibly physical abuse or yelling or cursing, even though that's unhealthy, in my mind, it becomes the norm. That becomes my healthy, right? So then as I move on, that's why I no longer understand the difference and they kind of get jumbled together. So when you're thinking about unhealthy and healthy relationships, please think about your own connections with people. Okay. Also, so family is really important when I'm young, right? But when I become a teen, who becomes important to me? As much as I love mom and dad, it's my friends, it's my peers. So, also, when you think of unhealthy, it's sort of that birds of a feather flock together kind of mentality. So when I'm unhealthy already and I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, I then connect to other people who are unhealthy. So they may have had the same background as I did, the same kind of relationships that I did. So again, then I remain unhealthy. So in a healthy relationship, okay, that's where as a kid, I see love and connections, and people are able to hug each other. And so then I understand that that's what love means. So even though we're talking about relationships, and I know we're going into Valentine's, a lot of the information that we're talking about absolutely can be friendships, it can be partners, it can be like siblings. So I want you to keep that in mind as we talk, okay? So moving on to the next slide, I'm going to start with the unhealthy because I think it makes more sense to go into unhealthy. Then we're going to take a look at healthy. And then also, how do we create these relationships to make them better? Okay. So, of course, with unhealthy, when you're looking at unhealthy, the first thing you think about is control. So, as we're thinking about control, how does someone control you in a relationship? So, I can't see all of you, but I would really like someone to kind of answer before I say it. How does someone control you in a relationship? Can someone unmute themselves and tell me? Come on, don't make me call. I used to hate when presentations do that.
I think a person can control a relationship when they don't allow you to be your most authentic or free self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was absolutely perfect. So when you think about this, Miss Denise, did you unmute yourself? Oh no, I thought you did. Sorry. So absolutely. But when you think about this, how easy is it for you to confuse control with, oh, they love me. Oh, he's telling me where to go. He absolutely loves me. He wants me to be safe. What? I can't dress like that. It's for my own protection. So, absolutely, control is just the way that they're making all the decisions. You don't have any voice. And I will tell you, because I work with clients, and one of them, unfortunately, her had a controlling relationship years and years and years ago. Like she's in her 70s now, and that still impacts her today as far as the decisions she makes and being able to be confident and comfortable with those decisions. Okay. The next one is dishonesty. So for a lot of people, I think this can vary. For me, people say, oh, omission ain't dishonest. Omission for me is dishonesty. So I think it depends on the level when you're thinking about dishonesty. But for our definition, dishonesty is when one partner lies or keeps information from you. But also think about this, when a partner goes in your bags and takes stuff, those are dishonest. You're stealing from me. My kids used to say, but you're my mom. That doesn't matter. No, if I haven't given you permission, you're stealing. So it's just understanding that portion of it, okay? Well, the next part absolutely is physical abuse. And that can be pushing, shoving, slapping, anything that becomes physical in the relationship, okay, is physical abuse. Now, here we go with disrespect. So, to me, disrespect can be if we're in Walmart and you're yelling at me or cursing at me. Absolutely. Is that disrespect? Yes, yes. But also, if we're at home and I'm trying to talk, but you're like yelling at me or towering over me. And so, disrespect and intimidation to me go hand in hand because intimidating you not to have a voice, intimidating you to, I have control over you, I'm in charge, right? But how many times have you possibly been in a situation where you're talking and I'm sorry, I'm a visual person, but you're sitting and that person is standing over you, right? That's intimidation. That's a form of intimidation. And so when you feel intimidated, it keeps you from feeling like I have power in this relationship as well. Okay. They can intimidate you to stay in the relationship, right? If you go, I'll hurt you. Um, I'll hurt your family. But also think about this. If you go, I'll kill myself. Definitely intimidation, right? Because it's like, well, I can't have that on my conscience. They're absolutely going to do something. So thinking on those lines. The next one, sexual abuse. Now, a lot of times what you get is people who say, well, if I'm in a relationship, it's not sexual abuse if I said no and it still happened. Absolutely, that is still sexual abuse. And sexual abuse can be in any form. It's not just intercourse, but it can be language. It can be things I see. It can be, you know, how they touch me, right? So it's understanding that if I'm against those things, it doesn't matter what the relationship is. Okay. But also think about, this is where you have the abuse in families, friendships, date rape kind of things. All of that fall under these. Okay. Then there's dependence. And I'm sure that all of us know a person who possibly was dependent on someone else, right? Like, I can't do anything unless I kind of get permission, right? So, dependence is one partner feels that he or she can't do anything without someone else, right? Like, every step, every decision, or if I want to go to the store from work, I have to call first. And how long will I be there? Is that going to be bad for me? And then, of course, there's hostility. So, always feeling like I'm walking on eggshells around this person. Always feeling like if somebody's around me, oh, get away because that person will be upset. Okay. So, looking at unhealthy relationships, just based on what we see. And for those of you that have come in, I say that this is going to be one that we kind of talk through together. Um, Thinking about unhealthy relationships, how many of us, and you can just show your hands, I know some of you have your things off, but how many of us have been in a situation where we were in unhealthy relationships and may not even have realized that they were unhealthy? It's kind of hard to understand that they're unhealthy if I don't know the difference first. So, you know, just thinking back to relationships I've had, how many of them have been unhealthy for me versus healthy? Okay. So we're going to go to the next slide, which is where I talked to you about where we were going to talk about healthy relationships. So I'm going to say them and then we're going to talk through them if that's okay. So on this next slide of healthy relationships. So now remember, I already know what unhealthy relationships are. So now I have to kind of start looking at how do I make them healthy? How do I become healthy? Because that's where it starts. Like I have to know how to change. So the first one, of course, is mutual respect, trust, honesty, compromising, individuality, good communication, anger control, and fighting fair. So let's break some of these apart, right? So with mutual respect, that just means that I respect what you're talking about. I value it. I'm listening, right? I'm having a respect for what you say. Now, trust and honesty, I feel go hand in hand. And if I'm in a relationship, I have to know, does this person have my best interest at hand? That's how I develop trust. If I can't feel like, okay, if we're somewhere and they are talking to somebody, they're not talking about me behind my back because I trust them. I trust that the relationship we have is a healthy one and a good one, right? But the same goes with honesty. Like, are we being truthful with each other? Right? Do I feel like I can talk to you? So with trust and honesty, let's go down to good communication really quickly, because good communication means I can speak openly and honestly. I don't have any fear of what I'm saying. So then, as long as I can communicate that, then I'm going to be able to be honest with my feelings, because I don't fear retribution. I don't feel judgment. I don't fear judgment. So those three kind of go hand in hand. So then when you look at compromising, it's you can have an opinion, I can have an opinion. We don't both have to be right. How do we meet in the middle to make it beneficial for both of us? Like a lot of times it's one of those, no, you're going to do what I say. No, you're going to do what I say. Well, that doesn't have to be in a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, it's okay, you want this, I want this. What's in the middle? Okay. Individuality. A lot of times in relationships, especially unhealthy relationships or healthy, I lose my identity. I don't I don't know who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to feel. In a healthy relationship, it's okay for me to have my own identity, my own values, my own goals, because the person that I'm with, or my family, or my friends are going to be there to cheer on that. But also, when I come back, it's like, guess what I did? Guess what I saw? Because I'm going to be able to do things on my own. I'm going to be able to have friends that don't have to be connected to us or them. It, you know, I still should have my own identity. The next one is anger control. So you really want to be able to, when you're in a relationship, people are going to get angry. People are like, oh, we never fight. Oh, we never disagree. Then you are not in a healthy relationship, because everyone has some small disagreement about something. Hey, you left the toothpaste open. That's not okay. You know? So in an anger control situation, it's just I take time to cool off if that's what I need. I'm going to be able to say, hey, you know what? This is getting really heated between the two of us. And I really want to hear what you're saying. And I really want you to hear what I'm saying. But we're just bumping heads. We're doing this. So then what I'm now going to do is take about 20 minutes, and I'm going to go get my thoughts together, like you get your thoughts together, and then us come back together and talk about it. But also in this, I don't want to avoid the situation. So I always want to come back and discuss what was going on. Because a lot of times people use this as a way to kind of, what I say, sweep things under the rug. So when I'm sweeping things under the rug and I'm pushing things down, the only thing that's happening is the rug is becoming lumpy and I am becoming toxic. So I need to be able to address it. Okay. The next one, of course, is fair fighting. So when we're talking about, go
Tammy,
ahead.
can I ask a question about this, Tammy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you talk about anger, so often we see either really unhealthy expressions of,
Mhm,
violence or intimidation,
mhm.
or people just like have unchecked anger,
Yeah.
or we see the other extreme, that any kind of expression of anger seems not right, not
Mhm,
Christian, not good. Um,
mhm,
so, what do you say to people who maybe more naturally kind of feel like anger is just inherently not right or not healthy?
mhm. Um, I think when you're thinking about anger, it's just exactly what you said. So when I'm angry, and I'll use that with the fair fighting if it's okay. When I'm angry, what I say is you should never want to go for the jugular of anyone. I love this person, so there is an innate feeling of protection. So anything I'm saying is coming from a place of love and not disrespect and not hate. So when I'm angry, it's not that it's not that kind of angry. It's kind of the I feel disrespected, or something you did hurt me, and I need to be able to communicate that to you. So that when I'm talking about anger, that's what anger is. To me, you should that when you're talking about that where it's like, "Bleh," that's the unhealthy stuff, because that person is not taking into consideration your feelings. They're cursing, yelling, calling names, making you feel bad about yourself. The healthy anger is just what you said. It's not really an anger as much as it is something doesn't feel right and I need to address it, you know. So did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. A lot of times we get confused and we do feel like if I'm having a disagreement in my relationship or with my family or we're upset, that it's negative and it's so bad. But the truth of the matter is we're all human, right? And we all are set up with our own thoughts and feelings. And if I don't feel comfortable enough to come to you and say, you know what, something you said really made me feel bad about myself, then you don't know that, right? So you don't know to correct it. So the thing that you are going to do is to continue to do it because you didn't know that it bothered me. So when I come to you, even if it's something you don't want to hear, in a healthy relationship, that person is going to respect me, love me, care for me, and want me to be honest. So then that's where it comes from. It comes from a place of love. Okay. So the next one is talking about problem solving. So when you're looking at problems, a lot of times we get overwhelmed, right? Because we immediately look at this massive problem and think, okay, I can't do nothing. I'm done. It's too much. So one of the things that I like to teach and say is the goal can be huge. The problem can be huge. The steps, they can be little. So you look at just making the little steps to meet the bigger goal. So let's say, and even in healthy relationships, I want to say this before I forget too. All these things are things I'm going to practice because if I'm unhealthy, I'm not going to immediately say, oh, Tammy did this talk and I'm good to go now. So I'm absolutely ready to be healthy. That's not going to happen. But what I do is I start to practice it. I start to be okay with setting boundaries with people. I start to be okay with saying, when you said this, that was not okay. Or the next time we go out, hey, you go your way and I'm going to go mine and we'll meet in the middle. And that's okay. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're going to start with the small steps first in problem solving. So it's just working together, identifying solutions together and breaking the problem down. So even though we come together and you have your idea what the solution looks like and I have my idea of what it looks like, if the ultimate goal is we are communicating better, so how do each of us feel we make those steps to move in that direction? So that's problem solving. The next one is just understanding. Okay. And that is definitely, I recognize that the other person has feelings. But not only do they have feelings, I don't always have to be right. Right. Like my word isn't law. I will tell people all the time, I absolutely don't know it all. And at any point, if what you're saying makes sense to me, then I get it because those are your feelings. You have a right to your feelings. Like if you come and say, you know what, I felt like you were yelling at me the other day, but I normally just talk in a high voice. So then what I say is, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't yelling. I'm sorry you felt that way. So what I did is I recognized that was their feeling, but also now I have a mental note that when I talk high towards them, they feel threatened, right? They feel like I'm angry or I'm upset. So understanding is very important. And the next one, self-confidence. And I feel like with self-confidence, I promise you, I think all of us work on it for the rest of our lives. I feel like there are times that you feel like, oh, I got this. I got this. But there are absolutely times that you're like, I don't have this. I don't got this. So I think you have to allow yourself to be calm and comfortable with who you are. So that means I have to start working on knowing what that person looks like, what that person is okay with and wants in life, and teach other people that, right? So I have to teach people how to love me, how to treat me, you know, and understand that if I don't teach them that, they're never going to know it. Okay. Um, so up until this point, does anybody have any questions for me? please feel free to throw them out there if you do. We will be having questions at the end, but absolutely, if you're like me, my memory sometimes ain't that long, so please feel free to ask them in between if need be. Definitely the next one is being a role model. So when you think of being a role model, what does that person look like? What does being a role model even mean? So I don't like to call on people, but I will. So I'm going to pick somebody. Miss Jessica Williams. What's being a role model mean to you? Miss Williams, can you hear me? Maybe not. Okay.
She said her mic doesn't work.
Okay. How about Melinda? Miss Melinda? How about your mic?
Well, my mic works, but my internet keeps going out. So if it goes out,
Hey, I understand. So what does
but
being a role model in a relationship mean to you?
it's just someone that you can look up to, I think. Someone that kind of brings out the best in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was perfect. Also, I'm going to role model what I want them to do for me, right? So if I want trust and honesty and respect, I'm going to role model that behavior towards them. For me, I don't want them yelling at me or fussing at me. When we're talking, I'm going to role model that behavior. Okay. And then the next one absolutely is just being able to have a healthy sexual relationship. So being able to say, how I feel when I feel it. Okay. So when we're talking about this, so I gave you all this information, right? So now you're like, okay, Tammy, how do I use it? How do we create a healthy relationship? So I'm going to tell you how we kind of do that. So first, communicate your thoughts with one another. So be honest, be respectful. When sharing your thoughts and feelings with your partner, understand that it's normal and okay to need time to gather your thoughts. And this is where that don't avoid the conversation comes from. Being able, like when you're talking, sometimes I tell people it's like going to the doctor. You have all these things that you want to say, but you get into the doctor and he's talking and talking, and you're like, oh God, what did I want to say? What did I want to say? And so now I don't know how to pull my thoughts together. Absolutely. Is it okay to say, hey, I've listened to what you said. Let me go and digest it and come back. Because you want the interaction to be a positive one. You want to gain something from the communication, right? I need to learn and understand your feelings about what's going on, but also hear what you said. So there's a difference between listening and active listening. And I promise you, I'm 50. For a long time, I didn't know that. I just thought if I'm listening, I'm just listening, but really I'm not. Because active listening, I'm hearing what you said. I can tell you what you said, but I don't want to do it word for word. I want to hear it, digest it, and say, okay, so what you're saying is when I talk loudly, it makes you feel like I'm yelling at you. It makes you feel like I'm not respecting you or listening. So what I did was say exactly what they said, but in my own words, so they knew that I actually heard it. And that means a lot to people in relationships. They want to feel heard. Think about anything you've ever done, work, school, friends. You need that validation. I need to understand that you heard me. Okay. The next one, never assume or guess your partner's feelings. I don't care how long you've been with them. Just because they felt like they liked burgers like last week don't mean they like burgers this week. Okay. So I have to understand making assumptions can create a lot of misunderstandings in a relationship. You may feel like you know how they feel You may even be like, but I know this. But you also have to understand that without asking them, you're not validating them. Okay? Always do your best not to assume. Okay? Talk to them. Speak to them. Let them speak to you. Okay? So that's how we create healthy relationships. That's how we start. The next one, follow through with what you say. Oh my God, I wish I could put like star, highlight, star, star, star. How many times have you said, okay, I don't want you to do this. But then the next time it's done, you are okay with it or you don't say anything about it. So that's what I call being wishy-washy. Like, I'm going to flow with the wind. If the wind flows this way, I'm okay with it. No, this is how we practice. I have to setting boundaries and not executing them lets the other person think that they have an excuse to continue to overstep your boundaries. You shouldn't make any exceptions to your own boundaries without careful consideration, because you may soon find yourself on compromising things that aren't acceptable to you. I have to figure out my boundaries based on my values, what I feel is okay for me, and then I set them. And once I set them, even though it's new for somebody, I have to keep kind of reinforcing that. Like, if it's, I want you to communicate better. Well, when I feel like that's not done, and I've set that boundary, then I say, hey, I feel like you're not still communicating with me. I still need us to do better. But also understand it's going to take a work in progress, because if you've never done that, they're not used to it. So you have to keep continuing to kind of reinforce that. Next, take responsibility for your own actions. So instead of immediately blaming your partner for the situation or how you're feeling, take a step back and think about the choices you've made in the relationship and see if they may have contributed to the to the situation. Okay? But both people need to be doing this. At the end of the day, taking responsibility for my actions shows, again, I respect you. I appreciate this relationship. And sometimes I do things that are wrong. So I'm taking responsibility for that. But I need you to also take responsibility. Does it make sense? Head nods. Okay. Awesome. So the last thing is know when it's time to move on. So when we create relationships, my grandmother used to tell me people are in your life for a reason and a season. And sometimes we have to decide which that is. So if I'm setting boundaries, I'm trying to communicate better, I've figured out what's healthy for me versus what's unhealthy, then what I do is I've shared it with my relationship. So it says you can only share how you desire to be treated in the relationship, and you can't be responsible for your partner's feelings or communication. So everyone has the right to be treated with respect and fairness. So if your partner can't respect your boundaries, then you absolutely have to figure out, is it time for me to move on from this relationship? A lot of times people stay in relationships or stay around toxic people because it's comfortable, because I don't know any differently, or I don't, what if I'll never meet anybody else? Or what if things never change? So I have to look at that as well. To me, the underlining thing is I have to love myself sometimes more, which can be scary, you know? And so I'm not telling you just something that I've read in a book, but absolutely something that I've had to learn along the way, things that friends of mine and coworkers have had to learn, that it's okay to love yourself and to hold people accountable for their actions towards you, but also if you're going to be with me or if you're going to talk to me, if we're going to have a relationship, it has to be based on trust, honesty, respect, but also love. like at the end of the day, anybody I connect with, there is a love there. So if I can't talk to you with that in mind, then that's not a healthy relationship. So I have like a little 5-minute video that kind of pulls it all together. I will tell you, I have not done a video on Zoom before. And before we do it, go ahead. I was getting ready to ask for questions.
I have a question. So, I mean, easy to think about, or at least for me, it's easy to think about in like a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife relationship when you think about the unhealthy, kind of like, breaking the. But what about family? I think, you think about the difficult brother who now politically is just way where different than you are, and or our relationships that we are tied by blood. How do we apply that last step to those types of relationships that you mentioned?
So I'm going to tell you, and this is definitely based on an individual level, okay? Any relationship that is toxic, blood or not, you have to decide whether or not that there can still be, like, we can be blood. That's my brother. I love you. I don't want anything to happen to you. But if I've tried to talk to you about boundaries, or I've even said, hey, let's not talk about politics, let's not talk about anything that's going to divide us and focus on just the love and our family, and that still can't be done, then I have to make the decision on whether or not I can continue. Because again, it's going to definitely be, I think, based on individuals. But for me personally, any unhealthy or toxic relationship will bring chaos, division, and unhealthiness. So if I've tried to talk to you several times and say, hey, I love you, but we both know this topic is not good for either one of us, or hey, when you talk to me that way, it makes me feel bad, and that person continues. So what I've done is I've set the boundaries, right? I've told them how it makes me feel, but that person continues. Because just because you're on a journey to be healthier doesn't mean everyone else is, right? So I have to meet people where they are, but that doesn't mean I stay there myself. So what I do is say, and I've had to have the conversation. That's why I said I can only talk individually. I can say, I love you. I respect you. If you ever need anything, please call me. But at this time, what we're doing is not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for me. Hopefully down the line, you'll be able to be different and I'll be able to be different, and we can come together and talk. But I definitely believe that has to be based on an individual basis. But I've definitely have had clients that have had to walk away from moms, brothers, sisters because of the toxicity. Did that answer the question? Okay. Alrighty. So how am I on time? This is only like about 5 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm gonna try it. Just a second, and of course, doesn't want to work. All right, hold on. Again, remember I said I'm new at this, so had I? So can you guys see that? No? Okay, so I have to go back and share this one. Gosh, this newfangled stuff, I tell you. Now, can you see this one? Great. Oh God, hold on. Oh, there.
It's not playing.
Okay, just 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to play it. You tell me if you can hear it, okay? Okay. Still can't hear.
No, I think what you'll need to do is when you share it, when you pull back up, it's going to say also to use the audio. You'll need to click the audio also.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Let's see. Stop sharing. That's why it takes a village. Share. Share with sound. Okie dokie.
Many of us want to
Can
be
you
in
hear it
happy
now?
and meaningful relationships. But nowadays, in a dating scene plagued with superficiality and an abundance of choice, making a relationship long-term while staying sane is much easier said than done. The initial spark is great, but it takes a lot more than attraction to sustain a relationship. What are some ways we can keep a healthy relationship and ensure longevity with our partners, you may ask? Here are 12 signs you are in a healthy relationship. 1. You communicate openly. A great relationship starts with transparency. Do you feel like you can communicate about anything with your partner, from personal needs to taboo topics? Do the both of you take the time to listen and empathize with each other? Good communication means using assertive techniques, which includes welcoming body language, concentrative listening, and respectful language. 2. You argue. This might sound strange, but arguing sometimes is actually healthy in a relationship. Otherwise, you're probably just bottling up your feelings and letting them turn into resentment. Couples who communicate well can argue effectively. Both parties can state their opinions while trying to understand where the other person is coming from. They also know when to apologize when they are wrong. This point, however, shouldn't be confused with destructive fighting, in which couples use aggressive behavior and language to hurt each other when they disagree about an issue. 3. You keep relationship details private. It's normal to turn to close friends and family for relationship advice when you run into conflict with your partner. But making your problems public on social media is passive-aggressive and can damage the trust you've built with them. Everyone needs a sense of privacy to feel safe, including relationships. 4. You don't hold grudges. The more you get to know your partner, the more you may get on each other's nerves, which is normal. We all get a little agitated from time to time and say and do things we don't mean that can upset our partners. But holding a grudge even after they apologize sincerely can hurt your relationship in the long run. Be sure to talk things out instead when you're upset and learn to let go. 5. You have realistic expectations. The perfect partner doesn't exist. It takes a lot of work to keep a relationship going. Healthy couples understand that the key to a long-lasting relationship is commitment, open communication, and compromise. 6. You take time and space for yourself. Being in a healthy relationship doesn't mean you're glued at the hip. It means you can have separate lives, interests, and friends, and maintain your own sense of individuality without fearing that your partner is going to be jealous or resentful. Having a life outside of a relationship is essential. 7. You trust each other. Healthy couples can spend time away from each other without worrying about their whereabouts or who they're with. Stalking a partner on social media and asking them for constant updates, however, are signs of trust issues or codependency. Trust means respecting your partner's decisions and feeling secure. 8. You enjoy spending time together. Whether that means dinner dates or cuddling on the couch, you enjoy spending time with your partner no matter what. A healthy relationship involves taking time out of your busy schedule to connect with your partner. It's not just an obligation, but a way for you to enjoy life. 9. You're friends. Great couples share common interests, enjoy hanging out together, and making each other laugh. Just like best friends, healthy couples can talk about anything and confide in each other without fear of judgment. It's important to feel comfortable with your partner. 10. You make decisions together. Healthy relationships aren't a power struggle. They are a partnership that allows both individuals to have equal say. If you disagree on which restaurant to go to for your date, one of you may have to give in, but next weekend, the choice should be yours. Compromise is key. 11. You get intimate. Yes, sex is extremely beneficial in healthy relationships, but so is intimacy. Intimacy can be bonding, sexually or otherwise, familiarity or romance. Maintaining a healthy relationship means courting your partner with affection, quality time, gift giving, or other forms of love language. 12. Lastly, you make each other better. Fixing is not the same as supporting. Healthy relationships consist of couples that love one another for who they are, not who they want them to be. Are there items on this list that you and your partner practice regularly? Let us know in the comments below.
All righty. Come out of that. Okay. Just a second. So now we're at the point where we're just here with questions. Is there any questions? Anything you guys want to ask? Uh-oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. I told you I'm still working out the kinks of Zoom. Other than that, that's the end. Do you guys have anything that you want to ask? Anything that I can help with?